Okay, so recently on my Twitch stream, someone asked me to name my top 5 albums of all time, and I gave an answer on stream, and looking back at it, I feel like I left a lot of things out. Also, this is a really loaded question. I feel like there's no way to completely cover your bases here, and I will say I do think I have a pretty biased taste, at least in terms of music albums. So I kind of reformed my thought process on this a little bit, and I tried to get to my top 5 albums of all time here. I don't think I quite nailed it, though. I think I got it down to 1, 2, 3, 6, like 7 or so, maybe like 7 or 8. And then I have at least 10 other notable mentions that are really good, but I couldn't place in the top 5, either due to something I didn't like about it or like limited space. This is a nearly impossible task, though. I will say I'm definitely biased towards not liking old music as much. It depends on the music, obviously, but I'm like really not into like the old rock stuff, like really old hip hop. I do like some 90s hip hop, though, I will say. Definitely the more modern stuff, though, because I'm trying to like think of something I could still listen to this day. I guess that's kind of like one of the big factors here. There's definitely a lot of bias in here, though, because a lot of the things that I'm mentioning here other people wouldn't mention, or there's things that I wouldn't mention that they would mention. Now, this is in no particular order here. Okay, so number 1 here, this is probably not a surprise to a lot of people, J Dilla, Donuts. So this is a hard choice to pick between like my favorite album from him. I do think Donuts is the most flawless out of all of his discography. I do really like J-Lib. I actually didn't even include any Madlib projects in here just because the one I thought about putting in here was J-Lib Champion Sound, and I ended up not putting it in here just because I feel like the track list is not as flawless. Whereas Donuts, every single track is like a banger. It's something to remember. It's purely instrumental too, which is, there's not too many albums I think that people would say, oh, this pure instrumental album is top of the line. You gotta hear this. I feel like Donuts is up there, but I feel like in order to understand Donuts, you also have to understand a lot of his older music as well too. Something about it being his last album too also makes it kind of hit the heart a little bit differently. Okay, and then going through Kendrick projects here. Number 2, Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Now, it was pretty hard to pick a Kendrick Lamar project. I really do like To Pimp a Butterfly as well too, and Section 80. But I don't know, To Pimp a Butterfly always, I don't know, the first time I heard it, I didn't really like it that much. It kind of grew on me over time, though, whereas Good Kid, Mad City, I liked it from the start. I still like it to this day. So, to me, Good Kid, Mad City is better. I think a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. A lot of people do prefer To Pimp a Butterfly, but, this is my list, so that's how I went about it. There's just so many catchy songs on Good Kid, Mad City, and it's pretty innovative as well, too. Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Drink, Money Trees, Poetic Justice, Backseat Freestyle. It's got a lot of stuff. Okay, now, this is one I never see on anyone's top albums list. Now, Nujabes, Metaphorical Music. I think this one's pretty underrated. I wasn't sure if I should go with this or one of his other albums. Let me look at what it was. I was leaning between Metaphorical Music, the Samurai Champloo OST, or Modal Soul, or Impression. It's really hard to pick one from him, to be honest. They're all really good. I don't know. See, like even right now, I'm kind of leaning between Modal Soul. Is it Modal? Right now, I'm leaning between Modal Soul and Metaphorical Music. And also, the Samurai Champloo soundtrack was amazing, too. I don't know. For me, it's a tie between these 3 here. They all have like really good tracks that are like great to listen to from start to finish. I think the only reason I don't want to pick Modal Soul here is because there's some tracks on here that have gotten annoying to me, but this could just be a bias on my part. Like maybe I've just heard Feather too many times, but the rest of these songs are really good. Like Lovesick Part 3, Insane, Flowers, Horizon, Modal Soul, Eclipse, and then the OST here has some amazing tracks too. Mistline, Genome, Space Between Two Worlds, Aurorian Dance. I actually may feel like I may have to pick the Samurai Champloo soundtrack. This one has some bangers on it. I think Aurorian Dance was like one of the first songs I ever heard when it was like really high, and that shit like really that blew my mind. We were listening to it on repeat when we were listening to it in my friend's van. Yeah, we were chambering in a van. So you know what? I think I'm gonna go with the Samurai Champloo soundtrack here, even though that one's completely instrumental, I believe, for the most part. Or no, it is. Yeah, actually, I'll go with that one out of these 3 here. Like I said, I think I picked like a top 7 or 8 or something. Okay, the next, Cosmogramma by Flying Lotus. It's just a really creative album, in my opinion. Got some very catchy stuff going on. He does have a lot of great music, so it was kind of hard to narrow one down. I kind of wanted to pick 1983 from him, but it's got a little bit more of a demo sound to it. It's funny because because like when you look at these albums ratings on other websites, like this one's only giving it a 3 out of 5. I don't know. Like I said, I probably I'm looking for like a little more experimental type shit, you know, as you can tell by this next selection here. Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 by Aphex Twin. This one was just really innovative for the time. It's a classic. It's got a lot of great melodies in it. I think this is Aphex Twin's most well received by the general public, and I also think it has the catchiest melodies. It's not trying too hard to be weird. It's just like a little weird, and it's also very melodic. It's got a lot of great stuff happening with it. Then I had to include a couple rock albums in here, or rock oriented albums in here, because I feel like I was leaning a little bit too much into, you know, rap and electronic music here. That's one reason I felt like it was impossible to give just a top 5. There's just too many. There's too many albums, too much music. So I thought about it a bit, and I felt like I had to include Seosin in here, particularly the Translating the Name EP. Now this one doesn't have a lot of tracks on it, but every single track is like nearly perfect. I mean, call it what you want, screamo, post-hardcore. I feel like they were one of the few to like do this genre really well though. A lot of people tried to imitate them after this. A lot of rock and metal music was doing like high vocals. I think they were one of the first to do like really like high sung vocals at this time. This one's definitely a little bit of bias here. Friday Night Lights by Explosions in the Sky. I didn't even know when I first heard this originally. Again, I heard this music when I was like really high, like when I was in like high school or whatever. I didn't know this was actually a soundtrack of an album. It was something I would just put on like every single day while I was like stoned, just like staring at the fan as it's rotating. It was like really emotional music. Like it gave me like a new perspective on guitars. They didn't always have to be distorted. Your Hand in Mine, I think, is one of the most beautiful songs of all time. Pretty much every song on here is like really beautiful, but Your Hand in Mine, I think, is like one of the most beautiful. They have a lot of other great tracks as well too. I do think this one is the most like good to listen to from start to finish though, in my opinion. Here's some other shout outs too. Madvillainy. I really wanted to put this one on here, but I feel like I don't like listening to this one from start to finish as much. I really wanted to put an MF Doom project on here. I couldn't figure out one that I would put on here. The closest one I thought to putting on here was either Madvillainy or Food. Food is really good too. I really love the song Deep Fried Friends or One Beer. Really good stuff. His beats are insane. His vocals are insane. He's got like his own style in both regards. Like I said, I wanted to put To Pimp a Butterfly on here, but I just like Good Kid, Mad City more personally. I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with this, but I don't know. And then some classics here, like I wanted to put on here, but I don't listen to him too much nowadays, but I used to listen to him a lot, like Illmatic by Nas. I think this is one of the most perfect albums ever. Like I said though, just don't listen to it too much nowadays, but pretty much every song on here is a banger. The beats are good, vocals are good, it's catchy, it still holds up to this day. Now this one is a bit more of a rare choice here. I don't know too many people who would like this. Is a lot. This one's pretty weird. I don't know if everyone would be on board with this one, but Shlomo Son Deluxe. The remixes are great on this. Pretty much every song is insane. It's got great strange rhythms. It's really melodic. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I just feel like I couldn't put it on here in good conscience. I really wanted to though. I thought about it. I guess like with like how many other albums there were to put on here, I just couldn't do it. Another one just like that, No Such Things Drift. He's a really creative electronic musician. Every song on this album is like pretty impressive. I just think it lacks like the catchiness of like some of the other albums. It's great, but it's like I don't know if it's like the best, you know. And then Dr. Dre, The Chronic. I wanted to put that on here. I just feel like there's like certain songs I really love on this one, and then there's certain ones I just don't really care about. So like I think that's part of the reason why I couldn't put this on there. Wu-Tang Clan, sort of the same deal, although there are more songs on here that are absolute bangers than that one. A lot of these like old hip hop albums are really influential, so I felt like I had to at least give them like a shout out. I mean, there's other ones I wanted to include in here too that I couldn't. Like I was thinking about Rakim, thinking about just old Snoop Dogg. I was thinking about like NWA, but it's like who listens to NWA nowadays? That's crazy. There's just so many you could mention on here, you know. Another one I thought about putting on here too, but I did not, is Scream by Scream. There's a lot of really good songs on this one. Some of my favorites being Summer Dreams, Midnight Request Line, Emotionally Mute, Dutch Flowers, Rutten. There's a lot of really good ones on this one. Definitely one of my favorite dubstep albums of all time. Now I was also thinking about 6 Mafia a bit too. A lot of really good ones on Most Known Unknown. When I pull up at the club, Pussy Got You Hooked, Swervin', Hard Hit Us, Stay Fly, Half on a Sack. There's a lot of good ones on here. I think one of the problems with 6 Mafia, the reason why they can never really be at the top top of any of these lists is they think too much about quantity over quality. This album I think is one of their closest to being like pure quality though. Like a lot of their other tapes, there's just too much quantity, not enough quality. But this one, they were really close. Oh, and then also I want to add Kanye West on here too. I think like it's kind of really just a personal taste thing at the end of the day. I wasn't sure if I should put My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy or College Dropout, Late Registration. He has a lot of really good music. He is definitely a genius, despite what he's done in recent years. Definitely a top of the line album though. I think this one just didn't end up in there because of a personal taste sort of thing. I also hate the song Power. I don't know if a lot of other people like the song Power, but I hate the song Power, so this could definitely never end up on there. Okay, that's it for my top 5 of all time list. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with this. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people are gonna be like pissed off. But like I said, it's just my opinion. Everyone has their own taste when it comes to music. There's certain artists that some people might revere, and other people are just like, I don't really get it. You know what I mean? I also feel like it depends how much you've listened to the music as well too. If you listen to it too much, you could probably like not like it anymore. Another one, I just thought of another one I could have put on here. I thought about putting Gorillaz on here, but I wasn't even sure which one to put on here because they have so much great music, and I don't know if they have like one album that's like a standout out of all their albums. Yeah, I'm not even gonna look that up right now because I feel like I've like given like way too long of a list at this point. What do you guys think are your top 5 albums of all time? I'm sure this video is gonna get a lot of dislikes. This is gonna piss a lot of people off. Like, how dare you not put my band in here or whatever. But make sure to subscribe, like if you haven't, check out my main channel if you haven't. I upload music production content on there. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Band Incorporated.